Right, so here's a 2009 Gilera Runner 50cc. I've owned the bike for about 5 years, and so during that time it's been an ongoing project really. I bought it as a bit of a run around, and over time I've just tuned it, and pretty much have ended up going the sort of whole, as far as you can go with it really. A bit of advice that I would give to anybody looking to do a 50 is probably don't. It is a lot easier and a lot cheaper to do a 125, do an old shape 125, 172 it or 183 it or something like that. But this is the path I've taken with this, and we finally sort of got it finished or thereabouts. So styling wise, I tried to keep the bike very standard looking really, very factory. The bike was originally red and white, so I've completely changed the panels. It's had a frame up rebuild on this, every nut and bolt. So I changed the panels for matte black. I got those direct from Gilera. Changed the seat as well. I've done little things like just shorten the number plate holder and a few other little small cosmetic things, but largely really kept the bike very standard looking, which is what I wanted. So moving around, and probably starting with the engine, because that's where I suppose most of the work has been done. It is based around the Stage 6 95cc cylinder kit, which at the time I bought it was about the biggest kit that you could get for the bike. The problem is when you go for these sort of high-end parts, they're all very much interwoven, that you have to kind of buy the whole kit, the whole shebang really with it. So it's only compatible with a 44mm long stroke crank, which gives it that extra capacity. To fit it all, the cases have to be opened up. It's been flowed. There's been other internal strengthening work done as well, particularly around the transmission area. Yeah, again, that also it works with the torque driver, variator, clutch kit, all against Stage 6 RT. The exhaust system, again, I think it's the only compatible exhaust system with that particular cylinder kit, again, is the Stage 6 RT stuff. So very expensive, about as expensive as was out there really. But I say once you go for one part, they all kind of have to work together really on that. We've done a little bits and pieces here. It's a Stage 6 riser block, Velocity RS24 rear shock. It's a Stage 6 water pump in there as well. Stage 6 kickstart. Carb wise, there's a 25mm we're on now, 25mm Delorto carb, with Stage 6 inlet manifold, Stage 6 reed block. As I said, there's been a lot of strengthening work done inside here, a lot of stress put on the transmission setup in here, so there's had to be some where the actual transmission attaches to the engine case, and we've done some strengthening work in there as well. Stage 6 filter. Yeah, moving around, we've got a wavy disc on the back there. Still running the standard black caliper on the rear, because I couldn't get a performance uprated caliper. I may paint that red, but I don't know how much to leave it. It's black, it sort of suits the wheels and stuff. We went with a 140 on the back. It comes as a 130 standard. About the biggest tyre you'll get on there. As you can see, it's very close to the suspension there, just a couple of mils clearance, so you won't get a wider tyre on that, and I don't really think the rim would probably take a wider tyre anyway. There's been some strengthening work again done here. There's an engine brace, which is a bespoke part. You can't buy these for the 50s, so I've had that made, and again the way that the exhaust and everything, the bushes have all been made. It's all marine grade steel bolts, and that sort of stuff that we've put on here. Ignition wise, it's a Velocity MHR race ignition system that we've got on here. Standard ignition, just not suitable for this kind of setup. I was running the standard ignition, I was having a whole host of problems with it, so that went, and we've got a race ignition setup here now, which allows the bike to rev to about 13,000 excuse me, RPM on pull away, which makes really good power. This kit is actually designed to make peak power at about 12.5, which is, I say, what it does roughly on sort of full throttle. Downsides of the Molossi race ignition system is that there's no lighting coil on this, so the electrical system is wired directly to the battery, so it doesn't charge itself. You just have to make sure your batteries continue topped up. I've changed the battery for a sealed gel battery, actually off of a Yamaha FJR 1300, which is about as big a battery as you can possibly still fit in the case, which sits in very nicely, but it is as big as it goes, so that really helps. And the lighting is just done off on the 50s. You'll notice this button here is an additional button which is on and off for the lights. Normally it's just a blanking plate on those. We've got a stage 6 rev counter and temp gauge. Standard rev counter, just not suitable when you start getting around 13,000 RPM, very unreliable, and the needle is bouncing everywhere. And the temperature gauge, if you know these bikes, is just a sort of bar kind of setup, which is very poor. You want to know exactly how hot the bike is when you're running it. Keeping it cool, there's two problems really when you start getting to a tune of this nature, is that keeping it cool is one thing, and clutches is the other issue really. To keep it cool, what we've done, we were actually running originally a Bosch electrical water pump, which just worked off the ignition. It was on all the time, and it worked to a certain extent, but what we found was that it moved the water around the system very quickly, probably too quickly. So the same water was coming round through the cylinder jacket, if that's the right word, very quickly, and not getting a chance to cool. So the way we've got around that is that we've gone with an additional rad. The standard rad is obviously still there. We replaced it, but that's the new rad, but it's a standard size rad. Then we actually fabricated a motocross rad. Actually, if you remove the center panel here, there's actually a really quite a big space. You can see where it's cold, my prints are going everywhere. There's actually a very big space there. You can actually fit another radiator, which allows you to probably increase the capacity of the cooling system by at least 2 litres, maybe slightly more. And we found that works much better. So we've got the stage 6 water pump in there. But it just now means that the cooling system, the capacity is at least 2 litres more, and there's 2 points of cooling, which means there's more water. It's spending less time in the engine and more time in the radiators, allowing it to get cool, which is what we've really found worked. So we've got around that. We've got Molossi F32 front forks. I was going to go with the F37s, but they're just a bit wider, a bit heavier, and they don't come in red, they come in like a steel. They don't really look like a modified set of forks in my opinion, so that's why I went with the F32s. Got big disc, big wavy disc on the front, performance caliper, again gone with red there. Yeah, I don't know what else to say really. As I say, the bike is been built to be used and abused really. It's not a show bike. I mean, it's in good condition, but it's certainly not a show bike. You know, I ride it in all weathers, just make sure it's clean and up together, but when it gets broken it gets fixed. But it's there to be ridden. Engine casing is all black, as is the transmission cover. I mean, I had that done with the sort of Teflon paint, very easy to clean. It does get greasy, but it just tends to sort of wipe it off really. A lot of people change these as well, these transmission cooling vents, if you like, or intakes, with a little sort of filter. But I think it's really important to have the scoop, getting as much air as possible, getting it into this transmission casing. The clutch gets very hot. That's one of the issues with this really as well. This bike's making between 21 and 25 brake horsepower, depending on whose dyno it is, 11 or 10 pound-feet of torque. So very quick, particularly off the line. Top speed around about 80 to 85 miles an hour. We're back on standard gearing. I've had a whole host of primary and secondary gearings on this, and we've just come back to the thinking that the standard gearing is better. Certainly it gets you off the line quicker. You haven't quite got the top end, but I mean, you don't want to be hanging on to this thing at much more than 80 or 85 miles an hour anyway really. So for me, it was all about acceleration. That it was just best set up with the standard gearing, I think, from that point of view. But yeah, I'm always a bit concerned about the clutch, really, because I say, you know, when I get off the bike, sometimes you know, even touching it is really, really, really hot. So yeah, you just have to be, and you get a little bit of clutch judder as well when it gets really, really hot. So you just have to be a bit careful with that, really. But yeah, when you're out on the open road with it, it's great. I've got a friend of mine who's got an old shape Gilera runner. It's a 172, and he's tuned that. But this is probably quicker off the line. I mean, he's probably mid-range top end is probably better, but off the line, this certainly does him probably up to about 50 or 60 miles an hour, and then he probably starts to come through after that. But it's great fun, and it's been, I say, a labour of love for the last 5 or so years. But yeah, I mean, if you're getting into this stuff and you want to do it, yeah, you need to have deep pockets, really, because it's cost an absolute fortune. Got rid of the centre stand as well, and I've just got the side stand. With regards to things to do now, it's pretty much finished, really. I might paint that rear caliper red. Apart from that, there's nowhere else I can go with it, really. So yeah, I just thought I'd share the project with you, and any questions or comments, yeah, please go ahead. Thank you very much. Bye.